All right, let's get into it. Today we're talking about a quiet rebellion happening in the world of online business. While everyone is screaming about AI, we're going to look at where the real money is being made. Not in all the hype, but in these kind of unsexy businesses that are just, well, they're quietly printing cash.
I mean, seriously, it feels like everywhere you turn, it's AI this, AI that. It's a total gold rush. But that begs a really important question. Is jumping on that bandwagon the only way to make it online these days? Well, the answer might not be what you think.
So you've basically got this great divide happening. On one side, you have what we can call the AI flood. Just a tidal wave of kind of mediocre, machine-made content where everybody's fighting over the same little scraps. But then you have the other side, the quiet cash machines. These are the quote-unquote boring businesses that are absolutely dominating these little niches nobody else is even looking at.
Okay, so let's dig into that second group, because this is where things get really interesting. We're talking about businesses that look boring on the surface, but are pulling in some seriously big profits.
This quote just nails it, right? The folks who are really crushing it right now aren't following the crowd. They are deliberately moving in a different direction. They've found an edge precisely because they're looking where no one else is.
So what does this actually look like in the real world? Let's kick things off with a fantastic example for local businesses. It's called the pay-per-job model.
Now, this model just completely flips the old script. You know how it usually works. A marketer sells a lead, say for a roofer, for maybe $50. End of story. But with this model, you build a simple little website that ranks for something super specific, like emergency roof repair in Phoenix. Then, and here's the key, you stop selling leads. Instead, you become the sales partner. You actually book the job for the contractor, and you take a commission, say 5 to 10%, on the entire job.
And this is where the scale just gets insane. A $50 lead is, well, it's $50. But a 10% cut of a $150,000 commercial roofing contract, that's a $15,000 payday from one deal. You're not just a lead generator anymore, you're bringing them guaranteed revenue. And believe me, contractors are more than happy to pay for that.
Okay, let's look at another boring but brilliant model, niche directories. And yeah, we're talking about websites for things like luxury porta potties or maybe haunted hotels. Sounds weird, right? But here's why they're so powerful. The whole get-rich-quick crowd completely ignores them. And AI is terrible at replicating the human touch required to actually curate and enrich the data on these sites. So what you're left with is a super valuable, defensible business that you can eventually sell for a really nice profit.
So you're probably seeing the pattern here, right? Both of these models share a secret ingredient, a very human advantage that AI just can't copy. And that brings us to the next really big idea.
For the longest time, the online content game was all about how-to articles. You know, how to fix a leaky faucet. And let's be honest, AI can write that stuff pretty well now. But the new playbook, the winning playbook, is all about how-I content. It's about your personal story, your journey, your mistakes. It builds a real connection, and that is something AI simply cannot fake.
And this idea leads to this really powerful concept. Let's call it classified content. All this means is any content that AI literally cannot create because it requires real lived experience. In a world flooded with AI-generated text, this becomes your secret weapon. It's your moat. So what does this classified content actually look like? It's way simpler than you'd think. It's that screenshot from your camera roll that proves the result. It's that messy, behind-the-scenes video of you actually doing the work. It's you just talking to your phone, sharing a quick thought or a lesson you learned the hard way. This is the kind of stuff that builds rock-solid trust.
Now, after all of this, you might be thinking I'm just completely anti-AI. But that's not it, not at all. The smartest people out there aren't against AI. They're just incredibly strategic about how they use it.
So, is the big takeaway here just to unplug everything? Should you just ditch AI altogether and go back to doing everything by hand?
No, absolutely not. The key isn't to reject the tool, it's to change how you use the tool. You got to start thinking of AI less like a sledgehammer, for just banging out tons of generic content, and more like a scalpel for very precise, very specific tasks.
And check out this brilliant example of that scalpel approach. Instead of telling AI to just write a blog post, you use ChatGPT to craft these incredibly detailed prompts for an AI video generator. Then, you use those prompts to create a stunning, professional-looking spec ad for a brand you want to work with. And you can use that to land a 5-figure contract, all without a camera or a crew or a studio.
That is surgical precision.
And this whole scalpel idea applies all over the place. You can use AI to write super detailed operating procedures for your business. Remember those directory sites? You can use it to auto-generate unique listings. The goal is to let the machine handle, say, 95% of the routine, boring work so that you and your team can focus on the 5% of exceptions that truly need a human brain.
Okay, so let's bring this all home. How do we put all these pieces together? Well, it really boils down to learning how to see the opportunities that everyone else is just walking right past.
So, just to recap the big strategies we talked about, we've got the microsite commission model, getting a real piece of the pie instead of just selling cheap leads. We've got the boring directory model, which is so powerful because it has almost no competition, and then the foundation for all of it, classified content, sharing your real, authentic experiences to build a level of trust that a machine could never, ever replicate.
And here's the most important takeaway of all. This mad dash for AI, it's creating huge, profitable gaps in the market. The real opportunity isn't in joining the mob with their shovels, it's in finding the treasure they are all sprinting right past.
So, I'll just leave you with this final thought. Right now, the entire market is obsessed with asking, what can AI do? The much more interesting, and I think much more profitable question is, what can't it do? While everybody else is looking in one direction, where are you going to choose to look? Thanks for watching.